From the hockeyfan.com studios, this is the Dump and Chase podcast. Stream the show on Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. With your hosts, Sam Olmstead and Justin Irwin. The show starts now.
Daddy, what are you doing?
I don't know. Sam paid me $5 to read this. Show starts now.
Hello, Phantom fans, and welcome to the Season 5 premiere of the Dump and Chase podcast. My name is Sam, and right away, I just want to say what a pleasure and an honor it is to be back for another year here on the show. So to our new listeners, welcome, and to our longtime listeners, welcome back. So if you are new to the show, real quick, this is a Youngstown Phantoms fan-produced show that started back in March of 2019. Myself, I am entering my 7th year as a season ticket holder, and my partner in crime is entering his 11th season kissing the glass at the bottom of Section 222. So we're shacked up again for another year. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Justin Irwin. Justin, we're back in the saddle again.
Referees beware.
Yeah. And recording equipment. This is taking us a hot minute to get this going. Nothing seems to want to work right today, but
yeah,
that's how we're starting the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, I work in IT and today has been a Monday.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for tuning in, either on Western Reserve Radio. That's right, they kept us around for another year, or YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And joining us again this season is our incredible sponsors, the amazing physicians and staff at Advanced Podiatry. And after this summer, I know more than ever what great people inhabit these offices, as I entrusted my own mother to their care, and she gave them 2 thumbs up. And she's easy to disappoint, believe me, I know. Oh boy. No, my mom loves me very much, and this is as far into an episode as she'll typically listen, so for appointment information, including same-day appointments, office locations, services offered, and treatments provided, check out advancedpodiatry.com. So kicking this right off, we do have some news from the off-season, the biggest of which is the Phantoms signing a new 5-year lease with the Cavelli Center, with options for renewal at 5 and 10 years. Now, Black Bear Sports Group will be on the hook for a new ice plant, so the good news there is that there will be no more junk ice at the Cavelli Center.
Yeah, financially, this is one of those, I guess, complex deals, but it's good to see at least, we have something long-term, stable, and considering, with other news, deep freeze, if you would have mentioned this 9 years ago, I'd have called you crazy.
Black Bears Sports Group purchasing Deep Freeze Ice Arena in Boardman. So the Phantoms now have a dedicated practice facility, and, major upgrades are planned not only for the team, but for youth hockey in the area and the general public as well. Someone needed to run this massive undertaking, and that job was tasked to former Phantoms head coach Brad Patterson, who will serve as the arena's general manager and the youth hockey coordinator. We are absolutely over the moon about this. They could not have picked a more perfect person for this job.
No, yeah. And obviously, this is kind of how things work out. I don't know, if it's just dominoes falling into place. But yeah, we were really, really happy to hear that news. So I think everything is working out for the best all around for hockey in the Youngstown area.
Yeah, that's just, who knows more about hockey in, the Youngstown Mahoning Valley? Who knows more than Brad?
Yeah. And we both know his demeanor, and I can't think of a more perfect person.
So speaking of leadership, we wanted to offer a huge congratulations to the newest team captain of the Phantoms, Shane LaChance. It's an easy choice when you first hear the name and your immediate reaction is, yeah, that makes sense.
This has been a couple years kind of running, which is kind of cool. But yeah, and it's leadership we see. People who have been around past seasons, when you see the captain and you're like, oh, okay, because he's the one who gets the most penalty minutes. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah. So joining Chancer in the leadership group will be assistant captains and both defensemen Chase Patilla and Nick Williams. Just flat out with these picks, they got it right.
I mean, and it was obvious kind of on the ice in Cranberry.
So I mean, speaking of Cranberry, this past weekend was very exciting for me as I finally, after all these years, got to attend the Fall Classic. I mean, getting to see all the different teams and ages under one roof, everyone is kicking off the season. I mean, it was not hard at all to get caught up in the excitement.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a different environment, and you kind of see all levels of the sport. And, you know, that's just kind of one of those really kind of the first time you see it, it's a lot of processing. But once you're there for a bit and you get comfortable, it's like, okay, so this is how things go.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is that not the fan friendliest of events.
No.
Just due to the fact that probably 80% of the people there are scouts at pretty much every level possible.
And I mean, you're kind of competing for space on the glass sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those interesting environments.
And of course, and Justin can attest to this, I had about a good 15 minutes of me acting like an excited 10-year-old as I got to watch a Pittsburgh Penguins practice up close, getting to see like Evgeny Malkin, Brian Rust, Brian Dumoulin, Jason Zucker, just a few feet away, just for me was a very magical thing and probably hugely annoying for you.
Yeah, I mean, I actually got into a conversation at work today about watching Gonchar at these things and, watching him at the practices when he was an assistant coach. So it's you can go there on pretty much any day when the Penguins are practicing and watch them practice, and you can get pretty close.
And you got these levels of junior and youth hockey, these kids that are running around the arena, walking through kind of, when the Penguins were going through their practice, walking through for a few minutes and seeing a couple kids who are obviously hockey players because they look like they were 10 years old and their calf muscles were bigger than my head. Watching the Penguins practice and go through these drills and everything like that. And this one kid looking at the other and he's like, we have so much work to do.
Yes, you do.
Great motivator for the kids as well, being able to, see that going on, while they're walking around. Okay, so with that, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we'll get into the actual games that took place. So stick around right here on the season 5 premiere of the Dump and Chase podcast, right here on Western Reserve Radio.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
I have the sound up, and I appreciate the guys that do the work now. But it is with great appreciation I see what the guys do, not only the announcers, but also the players. So we've had wonderful playoffs. I mean, single, double, triple overtime games. It's been fantastic.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
And we're back. This is the Dump and Chase podcast brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. So the Phantoms had 2 games over the weekend, Saturday tilt with Waterloo and the follow-up game on Sunday with Des Moines. So we're just going to jump right in. We're going to start with the game versus Waterloo, I should say. That was a 5-2 loss for the Phantoms. So starting out in the first period, it was obvious what the issue was going to be in this game. Just having Waterloo just kind of clogging up that neutral zone, not giving Youngstown any bit of an easy pass through the neutral zone. But on top of that, just a lot of these unforced errors, just trying to get out of the defensive zone. And these kind of things, they bit Youngstown early, and, led to, an early Waterloo goal only about a minute and a half into the game.
Yeah. And I mean, I think they got a little bit into our heads with that. But yeah, it was pretty much a half ice game.
Yeah. The first half of the period, the Phantoms were having some luck getting up ice. Maybe more just kind of, one guy taking charge and bringing it up. As far as like the set plays and everything like that, wasn't really working. Probably about halfway through the period is when Waterloo like really clamped down. And the Phantoms, I mean, the second half of that period just didn't see much of anything.
No, yeah. And I mean, obviously from a structural standpoint, Waterloo, they got to their game very early. So, that made, I think, all the difference really right there.
So, so end of the first period, Waterloo leads 1-0. Coming into the second period, Youngstown picked up an early power play. That power play was negated by them taking a penalty. Once the 4-on-4 was over, Waterloo takes over on their power play. They ended up scoring on said power play. So again, just kind of they had the opportunity there and just kind of shot themselves in the foot and paid for it.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's just early season jitters. First game. You're in that environment on that stage. It's easy to see, especially younger players, have these issues. So get it out of the way and move on.
Yeah, so we get, so later on in the period, the Phantoms finally get on the board. Andrew Strathman joining the Phantoms' first goal of the year club. And it was just one of those plays, just kind of getting into the dirty areas in the crease. Everybody's jabbing at the puck. We kind of thought it was Whitelaw based on his reaction, but everybody at the end of the day seems to be saying it's Strathman's goal. He was the final one to poke it in. Either way, it was a goal. We didn't care. So, just kind of the Phantoms working those dirty areas in the crease and was able to knock one in.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously it's nice not to be shut out on opening night. Get one and, build off of that. So, you have back-to-back games. You're, just looking for anything at that point.
So, yeah, I want to say the Phantoms picked up a little bit of momentum going into the end of that period. So, I mean, third period hopes were up. They were only down by 1. By the end of the second, it was 2-1 Waterloo. So hopes were, working their way up coming into the third period. Those were dashed pretty quickly. Within 2 minutes, Waterloo scores 3 goals to start the third period, going up 5-1. And pretty much the air just kind of, anybody that was there rooting for Youngstown, the air just kind of went out of the rink.
Yeah. It was really one of those things. I mean, we were getting to our seats and watching the scoreboard tick up. So, it was just one of those nights. Like I said, get it out of the way on opening night.
Yeah. Pretty much the whole entire rest of that period. There was no real rhythm to anything the team was trying to do. Everybody was out of sync. About halfway through the third period, the Phantoms did end up on the power play, and William Whitelaw, and just kind of a preview of things to come. Just an absolute laser from the top of the right circle on a wrist shot, beating the Waterloo goaltender glove side. So picking up his first goal of the season on the power play, bringing Youngstown back to 5-2. Unfortunately, Waterloo clamped down again, and that was the final score.
This is a team that, I think has done this to us before. Other fall classics, I think. We knew we had a good team going into the season. We hope to see more, but you kind of saw, the beginning of, the structure there. William Whitelaw, power play, something to build off of and, take that and move on.
So after the game, for the first time, we got to speak with Phantoms head coach Ryan Ward. Obviously, disappointing start to his USHL career. So when my opportunity came, I asked Ryan about, what positives from the game, could he take away from it and carry over into the game on Sunday with Des Moines, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I think we had spurts. I think some of our young guys got experience. I think that's the most important thing. I think anytime you come in here to the Fall Classic with a ton of eyes on you, for the young guys, it's something a little bit different and something that they have to adjust to. And I think now that we got that out of the way, hopefully we can get back to playing hockey here.
And hopefully we don't get tagged on anything for Sweet Caroline playing in the background there, but nothing we could really do about it.
Yeah, I've been down there before. There's not a lot of room to conduct interviews. Um, we were kind of lucky to get the space that we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
It had to be Sweet Caroline.
I mean, it was the post game interview was posted on the Phantoms YouTube page, and I didn't see it get taken down, so we might be okay.
Yeah, because that's how it works.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to the game on Sunday. This was with Des Moines, and this one was a 2-1 win for the Phantoms, picking up their first win of the season. So getting into the first period right away, just better job possessing the puck. The unforced errors weren't there. Much better start by the Phantoms, much more focused. Not a lot to take away from this period. No scoring at all in this period. Just a couple notes that we made. So far, I mean, just what we've seen in preseason in these games so far, Kenta Isagai on the boards cannot be stopped or caught up to.
I was hoping you were going to mention that at some point. But yeah, we've talked about this, at least in private. He is so strong on the boards that, from what we've seen past seasons with him coming up the middle and been like, it's night and day. So hopefully maybe they'll move him to wing at some point.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the period, it was just kind of one of the, I mean, anytime the Phantoms were getting into a rhythm, they'd take a penalty, go shorthanded, and it would just kind of kill everything, and then they'd have to build it back up. But I mean, it was, they had their moments, but, they were keeping Des Moines at bay, just the penalties were hurting them.
Yeah, I mean, you saw, William Whitelaw was starting to try to pull his tricks.
Yeah.
And, you heard a lot of oohs and ahs from the crowd. Yeah, if it wasn't for, a couple of extra penalties, which, Des Moines was taking their own too. So it's not like, we're going to the box by ourselves. But yeah, the rhythm wasn't quite there, but you could feel it building.
Yeah. So getting into the second period, the Phantoms just did a much better job playing their system, or, what their system is supposed to be. As, described to us, it looked a lot more like what we've been told it's going to look like. Yeah, and this was the comment you made, during the second period, that Whitelaw is starting to feel it.
Kind of at the end of the first, but definitely in that second period, you could see the confidence. And I'm standing down kind of glass side. I'm not that far from his future NCAA coach, Tony Granato.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you want to make Tony happy. I don't think you want an unhappy Tony Granato.
Yeah, history has shown otherwise. That an unhappy Tony Granato is not good to be around.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I mean, I'm sure if anyone out there appreciated the stage that they were on this weekend on the Phantoms roster, it's William Whitelaw, and you could see that right there.
Yeah. So Phantoms finally in the second period pick up their first goal of the game. The Phantoms were on the power play, getting shots to the net, looking for deflections, looking for rebounds. Finally, it was Matthew Perkins from the point, putting a shot on net that was redirected in by Justin Varner for his first goal of the season. And just getting that first goal there, towards the end of the second period, really gave Youngstown a lift, that carried into the third.
Yeah. I mean, major power play. You have to score at least one. So you could see just kind of the elation on the team when they took that lead. It was a big weight off their shoulders. You got a lead. You're going to have more power play time.
Yeah, that was the major power play they were on that had about 50 seconds or so that carried over into the third period, I believe, something to that effect.
Yeah. And you could just see, that was one of those really cathartic moments, I think, for the team. Just kind of getting that lead, that momentum.
Yeah, the Phantoms go into the second intermission up 1-0. Coming out for the third period again, still on the major power play. Picked up a quick power play goal again by William Whitelaw. Unfortunately, that was kind of negated by a fairly quick follow-up goal from Des Moines. It was pretty bang there from one to the next.
Yeah, I mean, Des Moines is not going to go out, easy. There's no easy games in this league. So, going into intermission, you want to get a second goal. You want to, it was a pretty high hit that led to the major power play.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a tacky call there.
Yeah, so going throughout the rest of the third period, the Phantoms again kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit with the penalties. The Phantoms penalty kill was absolutely fantastic in the third period. It's what you want to see from your penalty kill. Not only was Des Moines not scoring, they weren't really getting chances. They weren't getting opportunities, to get their power play set up.
No, I mean, the Phantoms were building momentum off of their penalty kill.
Yes.
And unfortunately for Des Moines fans, when another team is building momentum off of their penalty kill, there's no incentive for them not to, play to the edge. So, we were kind of in that mode. And Des Moines, they took a few penalties, like I said, during the game. I mean, the power plays were 7-5?
Yeah, something like that.
So, it was kind of a chippy game for, teams that don't meet,
Yeah. And this is one of the things I loved about this game. Going through the third period, the Phantoms were not letting up. They were not sitting back, protecting a lead. It wasn't that they were playing to not lose. They were playing to win, especially that last about 5 minutes of the third period or so. They just kept pressing. And when it got down to like under 3 minutes left, they end up, just they're driving to the net. They're going through the zone. They forced Des Moines to take another penalty. So instead of Des Moines being in the position of pulling your goaltender and trying to get that tying goal, now they have to fight off a penalty, to end the game, and basically killed any bit of momentum they thought they might have, coming out of that. And, that's how Youngstown ended the game.
Yeah, I think they did actually eventually did get their goalie off, but it was late. And they had no real answer at that point.
Okay, so with that, we're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll break down the weekend in another segment of 4 Points. You're listening to the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio.
Advanced Podiatry has been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street in Howland Corners. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
And we're back. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Dump and Chase podcast, brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. So, for listeners new and old, 4 Points is where we break down the previous weekend into 4 categories: what we liked, what we didn't like, favorite moment, and the Dump and Chase podcast 3 stars of the week. So I will kick this off, and at certain points during the season, I'll let Justin go first when he doesn't expect it, and we'll all sit back and listen to him twist in the wind.
Ah, yes, that uncomfortable, awkward transition into the segment where
you don't know it's coming.
Well, like most of this, I mean, I get the run sheet, we go over it, and then, you bomb me with something, and it's like, I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah. Starting off, what we liked, for me, getting a glimpse of Ryan Ward's quote unquote vision. A lot of talk over the summer, what he wanted the offense to be, what he wanted the defense to be, what he wanted the identity of this team to be. Didn't see it so much on Saturday, got a much better look at it on Sunday. And, for people that were as excited as they were after the preseason was over, again, let me point out, the preseason doesn't count. Ask the 2017 Cleveland Browns about, what happens, how going undefeated that preseason worked out for him. It's just, preseason to regular season it's a completely different animal. But especially more on Sunday, I think we got a much better look of what it is, Coach Ward wants to do with this Phantoms team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, getting some preseason action against actual USHL teams, I think helps. I think we'll all agree on that. So what I liked, getting a win in Cranberry.
Yes.
Yes, we've talked about this. We don't have the best of luck there when it comes to when the games count. Originally, the event was a preseason event, and we did quite well, which I think, bleeds over from what, you were talking about.
The couple of seasons that the Fall Classic was in Cranberry, those were preseason games. The Phantoms were 5-1 in those games. In the time since that, the before this weekend was played, the Fall Classic being a part of the regular season, the Phantoms were only 1-5.
I don't go to the event just to see the Phantoms, but they're my team. I want to see them get wins, and it's been pretty sparse in the past few years.
So as far as what I didn't like, just the like I mentioned before, the unforced errors on Saturday. We were seeing just pucks just falling off of guys' sticks, passes not connecting tape to tape. Waterloo kind of taking full advantage of that. And we got to see a lot of it just because of bad seating choice. We were sitting on the end where the Phantoms only shot during the second period. That was on me. I'm an idiot. The idiot squad. I am the captain. Little shout out to Joey Vocek there. You're going to have no clue what that means, but yeah. So we got to see, I think, more of that than we wanted to during that game, kind of sitting in the defensive zone first and third period.
Trust me, we weren't seeing much action in the other zone. Especially, at least that was in the main rink and not in the second rink, where if you're not like 6 foot, you don't see down by the glass.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
You get that one. you got your one and you already used it. Episode 1, you already used it up. You got your one and you used it. So
1 in 5 seasons.
And enjoy it. And what didn't you like?
What didn't I like? Too many penalties on Sunday. We alluded to it, especially early. It killed a lot of our momentum. And at one point in the game, there was, a guy comes out of the penalty box, takes another penalty, goes back in the box. Pretty much stuff like that can sap your momentum. Other than that, it was a good game, but we have to work on these things.
As far as my favorite moment, I'm going, the game on Saturday, seeing the players coming out for warm-ups.
Yeah,
it's one thing to watch, it's one thing to watch it on Hockey TV, now Flow Sports. Good luck figuring that one out. But no, because we were sitting right there where the team came out. So, you have these young guys, this is their first regular season USHL game. As far as them working their way up to the junior level, this is the pinnacle for them at this point in their careers. And just seeing, the look of excitement on these kids' faces, even on, Sunday, I saw it on Flow Sports. I wasn't there live in person. But just kind of the look on, Brandon Svoboda's face, skating out onto that rink with the Youngstown Phantoms, where, he came from the Penn's Elite program, which that's their home rink, and spending those years with, Penn's Elite, and then getting to come back onto that ice, wearing the jersey of a USHL team. And that's, it's things like that I've missed not being able to go, all these years, but go. To me, that was my absolute favorite part of this weekend.
You have a different perspective, the way the arenas are laid out. It's a little more intimate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of building off of that. And then you have around you youth players, coaches, scouts of every level, NCAA, NHL. You see a few North American Hockey League, a few null scouts milling about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just every level is kind of represented there. From players, youth players, USHL players, on up to, we see the bigwigs of the Pittsburgh Penguins hanging out on the balcony.
Brian Burke may or may not have been awake. We're not sure. We couldn't see that. We couldn't tell from the distance we were sitting at. He may or may not have been awake during that. I can't.
And it's still kind of weird seeing Ron Hextall up there.
Yeah.
But, from, every level of this sport, you see it right there in one building.
And you hear it sitting in the stands. You got these youth players sitting around, and their coaches are there with them, and you'll hear during, and you'd hear during the game, hey, did you just see what he did there? Did you, do you see what he just did? And it's like, these youth players are watching these games and their coaches are still kind of coaching them, looking at the next level up and saying, now watch how these guys do it. All right, and now it is time for the Dump and Chase podcast 3 stars of the week. We're going to kick this off with the 3rd star of the week, Andrew Strathman. 1 goal, 2 assists on the weekend. Not only just the offensive acumen that we got to see on display. I mean, again, as we've said every time we've seen him, this kid is as advertised. Just not only that, but on the defensive side, throwing his weight around. Defensively, his stick work is incredible. I mean, it was to see in regular season action. It was a real treat.
And he jumps up on the play more, I think, than any defenseman, I think, on the team in recent memory. So, yeah, definitely a two-way player, defensively responsible. I think we got him for a steal so far.
Yeah.
So, 2nd star of the week, Colin Wynn, USHL debut, stopped 18 of 19. Really solid performance. He's been talked about as being, the second goalie on the team pretty much from the start. And I think in this game, you saw why.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder on Flow Sports. We got to see him in person the first preseason game. Maybe some nerves there. It wasn't probably his proudest moment, but seeing him in this game, it was night and day. Other than the 1 goal, he was pretty much lights out from beginning to end.
Yeah, I mean, quick glove, solid position. I didn't see any real faults.
Yeah. All right, and the 1st star of the week, that of course goes to William Whitelaw. 2 goals, 1 assist on the weekend, both goals on the power play. He's been well heralded up to this point. We're not going to add anything new to that conversation. There were various points throughout the weekend. It just looked like he was playing a different game than everyone else.
But to point out, the first goal on the power play was pretty much through traffic.
Yeah.
And the second one was kind of Johnny on the spot. Hey, whack this loose puck into the net. So
yeah, working around the crease, looking for the rebound, and it came right to him. And
sometimes it's position.
Yeah.
His IQ is off the chart.
All right, so with that, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll briefly mention the next slate of games taking place in 2 weeks. And sigh. And we'll talk about what you can expect from the show in the coming weeks and season overall. So stick around. This is the season 5 premiere of the Dump and Chase podcast right here on Western Reserve Radio.
Join Stars photographer BA and Off-Ice official Gene Cotter for Thunderstruck, the unofficial Lincoln Stars podcast, where we talk with your favorite Lincoln Stars players, coaches, and alumni.
It was a great night, yeah. Beat them in their own rink just before the buzzer was something special for sure.
I don't want to call it a surprise because I knew that there was a great, rich history for hockey here in Lincoln, but I was really happy to see the fans come back in droves and be such a great supporter for us.
I think he's copying some NHLer he's looking up to, but I don't know. I think it's Dusty. I think a lot of guys think it's sick, though.
To let him in penalty minutes back before they handed out those little 10-minute wussy misconducts on everything.
Thunderstruck the podcast, all season long, right here on the Anchor app or wherever you find your favorite podcast.
And welcome back to the season 5 premiere of the Dump and Chase podcast, brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. So this is typically where we would do the weekend preview for anybody new that is listening in. This is the weekend preview, sort of. The Phantoms don't play for a couple more weeks. They kind of...
It might be a weekend preview, but not this weekend.
Yeah, we're previewing a weekend, just not this one. The Phantoms' next games on the schedule won't be until the home opener weekend at the Cavelli Center, Thursday and Friday, October 13th and 14th. That'll be Madison coming back to town. So the returners will be getting another crack at Madison after last season's first round bounce by the Madison Capitals. I mean, who did make a pretty good run of it when it was all said and done. Couldn't get the job finished, but, surprised a lot of people, made a deep run. We're going to get more into this in a couple of weeks when we're actually leading into that game. But yeah, I would think the returners, especially thinking somebody like Jacob Fowler is, going to be really thinking about this coming into that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure for the guys returning, the home opener is a big deal. Hopefully for the newer guys, the Phantoms fans can turn out and make it something special for them too. Um, sometimes early in the season, you don't get the biggest turnout. You hope for something a little bit better on a home opener. So fingers crossed there.
Yeah. Since that's all we can really do with that right now, basically what we're going to do here, we're just going to kind of talk about this show a little bit, what we can look forward to as the season goes on. The first thing, one of my little pet projects I like to do, keeping it's the same thing you can find on the USHL website, except this is easier to navigate. I've created, started last season, a series of spreadsheets that keeps stats on the team. You're able to do more of a comparison between certain matchups and everything else more than you can do on the USHL website. Our Linktree page, which, the link to that will be in the description of whatever way you are listening to this show. Go to the description. The link will be there. There'll be a new section in there that'll have the links to these spreadsheets. You can go in, you can look at them. There's a comment section. If I screw something up, let me know. Now, sometimes during the course of a week, the stats will change, so something might be off. I try to go through once a week. But yeah, I mean, there's a chart for the Eastern Conference. There's a chart for the Western Conference. For Phantoms fans, there's a chart, actually breaking down the Phantoms, opponents during the season, how the season series go. And if you're a Lincoln fan, there's also a chart for that. I made one up for the guys from the Thunderstruck podcast to help them out. So if you're a Lincoln fan, you'll be able to go and look at that as well. I put a ton of work into this summer, learning all new sorts of formulas on Google Sheets. So again, the monster you and Matt created, because I used to just write everything down and you guys kept mocking me for it. This is the monster you have created. Yeah, well, that's by design. I don't know about from Matt's standpoint, but that's by design. Yeah. I've always figured you were geared for spreadsheets. Yeah. But yeah, like the Eastern Conference, the Eastern Conference sheet, the Western Conference sheet, there's, a tab with the standings, each team name is linked. You can click on the link and it'll take you to the team roster page. Each game that is played, there'll be a link for each game that'll take you to the official box scores. So if you want more information, yeah, this is more of a one-stop shop. And like I said, you kind of get the added benefit that you can break it down more, look at like common opponent matchups and stuff like that than you can on the USHL website. So if you want to check that out, those links will all be on the Linktree page. Like I said, you can leave comments if you want. So if something is incorrect or, other than that, just leave nice comments. There's really no reason for me to do this. It's just kind of my little pet project that I do. And other news, and actually this was breaking news for us today, we have merch now. We're starting small, but we have merch now. Yeah, I need to buy a couple of those, man. Oh, you're buying them. I know. No freebies here. Yeah. No, they are. We have our decals with our new, which you'll be seeing more now, the unofficial Game Puck logo, as we're calling it. And the genius part of this on my part is these decals are round and they're 3x3, which also happens to be the same size as a puck. So if one of these people that just happen to have like a pile of practice pucks laying around the house, I mean, I don't know who that would be, but just nobody I know. Gathering them over the years. If you have a pile of these practice pucks at home, you could slap one of these decals on a practice puck and it'll kind of sort of look like a puck with, yeah. Which is kind of what I tried to do in open source software. So you may or may not be seeing this. Yeah, well, I think I sent you a picture one. I'll try to take a better picture of it. Maybe you can flash it up on the screen on YouTube here. People will see it. It'll be on, I'll have them on social media here before long, the pictures and everything like that. So yeah, those will be available. We're working on, right now we're working on how people can order them. Of course, we'll have them at the games. They're $3 a piece. We were recommended to go higher than that. We're not going to get rich off these things. We're not looking to get rich off these things. It was actually recommended to me to go higher than $3, but that's what we're going to go with. Also during this season, and we're still working out the details of this, we're going to try to do at least 2 or 3 giveaways during the season for our listeners. Maybe it'll be a t-shirt. Maybe it'll be a free decal. We don't know yet. It's, we're working on the details. We're still sorting that out. Game tickets. I don't know if that'd be talking to the team or maybe seeing if we can. I mean, I've thought about it before. Maybe we can work something out with the office where we can do something like that. Or, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, anything's on the table at this point, but it's still a work in progress. But definitely, once we start getting stuff like that going, you'll know. Believe me, we'll put it out there.
And we are open to suggestions. Yeah. We're not The Price is Right, so you don't get a new car.
Yeah, I mean, if you want Justin to come over and like wash your dishes and do your laundry, I mean, we can set something like that up. Do some kind of contest where that's your prize. Judging by the look on your face right now, I'm going to say that's a no-go.
Well, I'm just saying, if you want me to do your dishes,
put food on them first.
Yeah, it's not going to be much of a prize. This is not my specialty.
Yeah. So as far as future episodes here in the immediate future, next week, since we don't have anything going on next week, we are going to have a coaches episode. This episode will feature Brandon Gotkin, Andy Contois, and Ryan Ward. Each will have their own segment. We'll be talking to all three of them. There is a new coach, assistant coach Brandon Dennis. We did not know about him until we had already planned this. There really wasn't much of an announcement made that this hire had been made. And by the time we found out, we already had this planned out. But I mean, we'll have him on at some point. He'll actually, get his own segment in another show. So won't be crowded by all the other coaches, but.
And for those who, don't get the benefit of being in our Zoom conversation here, this is the look of surprise on my face.
Yeah. Yeah. After that, leading into the Phantoms home opener weekend, we're going to have the gentlemen, Brandon Anderson and Gene Cotter from Thunderstruck, the unofficial Lincoln Stars podcast. We're going to have them on the show. We're going to be talking a lot of Eastern Conference hockey this season, other than one more Western Conference game with Waterloo on New Year's Eve. Hopefully that goes better than the last couple games with Waterloo have gone. But we're going to have those guys on. We're going to be talking about them as far as what's going on in the Western Conference this season, what to look for on that side of the bracket. But yeah, we're going to have those guys on. And of course, we'll be previewing the home opener, any events or festivities, anything that'll be going on for that weekend. And then thankfully beyond that, these episodes will be talking about what has been played and what will be played. So this little 18-day break kind of hurt us on the scheduling a little bit, but thankfully we have a lot of good people around us who are willing to help us out. So we're going to be able to fill these next couple of weeks. I don't know, as far as the show, I mean, anything else I should throw out, or if you're on YouTube, on YouTube, I hope you're enjoying the new graphics. If you're watching on there, if you're enjoying the new graphics, and even those, as kind of we go along here in the next few weeks, those are going to be upgraded even further than we already have. So
yeah, there are going to be major changes in graphics.
Yes.
So running a little behind on this, we've both had some pretty dramatic
changes to our lifestyles and whatnot.
So yeah, I kind of had planned on having everything hashed out well ahead of the Fall Classic, and that is not happening.
Yeah.
So
okay, so we're going to take our last break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show and get ready for Season 5, Episode 2. You are listening to the Dump and Chase podcast on Western Reserve Radio. And we're back. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Season 5 premiere of the Dump and Chase podcast, which is brought to you by Advanced Podiatry. Be sure to check out advancedpodiatry.com for more information. You can tune in to the Dump and Chase podcast every Wednesday. Not this one, because this one's on Thursday, but the rest of the episodes on Wednesday on westernreserveradio.com from 5 to 6. Yeah, you can hear them westernreserveradio.com, the TuneIn or Live 365 apps, the Youngstown Phantoms Facebook page, and the Western Reserve Radio Facebook and Twitter accounts. You can also hear this show 1 hour before the live broadcast of the first home game of any weekend the Phantoms are at home on those same platforms. You can also catch the show on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And like I mentioned before, all of these links and more can be found on our Linktree page. And again, that link is in the description of however you are listening to this episode. And finally, I wanted to give a big thanks to Voice of the Phantoms and friend of the show, Matt Lipsack, for lending those golden pipes to our new intro. as well as the impeccable comedic timing of his son, John. So thank you both for helping us and inadvertently helping us make it better. And to prove my inability to learn a lesson after all these episodes, Justin, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Nothing. I won't bring up Darth Vader.
All right. So on behalf of Justin, Irwin, and myself, thank you for tuning in to the Dump and Chase podcast, and we will talk with you all next week. Bye now.